Hello, Ali and Diane. I want to do a little cinema verite about the 230 SL. It's a lot easier than all the still pictures and me typing on the computer. Here's a survey of all the parts we've taken off of your car. These are the straps that secure the front subframe to the body of the car, and you can see the rubber is deteriorated, so we're going to replace that. And the water pump will be replaced. Alternator, just like on the 280 SL, you never know when they're going to go bad. This one feels okay and seems like it's okay, so we're going to leave it alone. We've got the front shocks off of the car, and these should not be able to be compressed this easily. Let's see if you can see them here. There's a shock absorber, so you can see it. Anyway, it's very easy to compress that shock absorber. I don't know if you can see that or not. So anyway, time to replace the shock absorbers. New thermostat. Let's see what else. Of course, new brake pads, new rubbers for the sway bar. And speaking of which, sway bar is on the ground. Put new rubbers on it. Now let's swing around here and take a look at the new parts. Describe what's going on here. Alright, for the rear axle, we did these on the 280 SL. These are where the rear springs perch and make noise when these rubbers get worn out. New polyurethane sway bar bushings, and for those straps I showed you earlier, new rubbers there, and new rubbers for the rear axle trailing arms to the body. Motor mounts, we replace the motor mounts, and transmission mount. Obviously the trunk seal, it's all boogered up. New water pump, oil filter. You got two of these, but not both for your car. Kingpins, I'll discuss those in a minute. This is what a kingpin looks like. This is what your front wheels turn on, and these rides on these two bronze bushings, top and bottom. And so when you're steering the car, this thing's actually moving. And this is what moves the front wheels. So those get worn out and makes for sloppy steering. Radiator cooler hoses. Yours are old and soft and gimpy. Fuel filter. Upper radiator hose. Lower hose is not here yet. Yeah, and these are outer control arms. And this one goes in here, and this one goes in here, and it's supposed to go in there. It's nice and tight. Well, this is not what's supposed to happen. Nice and tight. Too tight, actually. But I'll make that. When on the car, you can put them together a little bit easier than that, but it's still too tight, but I'll take care of that. Anyway, this goes through here and holds this whole kingpin to the top of the A-frame, and it's secured in place with a nice nut. And I'm going to show you on your car where that nut was missing and you had a safety issue. And these are the lower outers on the bottom of the kingpin. Shift bushings, transmission pan gasket, transmission filter, and in fact most people don't know what a transmission filter looks like, so I'll show you. That's what a transmission filter looks like. Alright, new radiator cap, new seal for the power steering, the parts that had plated, not just to make them look pretty but to keep rust down. Got your clock for you where yours was missing. Front crank seal, yours was leaking. In fact, it was loose in the car. Alright, next is cap for the heater valve, brake hoses, spark plugs, plug wire set, points, condenser, brake pads, subframe, front subframe kit, rubbers. These are important. This is I'll describe these in a minute. Air filter, valve cover gasket, oil pan gasket, shock absorbers, and that's most of the parts. Not all, but most of them. Now we're going to see if we can go to the engine and give you a tour here of the engine. Now we obviously cleaned everything up. We believe the leak was taking place down here. This is where the water pump water pump housing goes to the block. I believe the leak was down here because when we took the water pump housing off, there was no gasket sealer, and the gasket just came right off of here. This is where the front crank seal goes, and that we believe is the source of the majority of the grease and oil all over the front of the engine. This was leaking. Power steering was also really dirty, and there's a seal behind here that is we think is part of the leaking process. Lots of leaks, which we will take care of. Also, the oil pan down here is going to come off. We're going to put a new gasket down there. That's another source of leaks. Now, let's go here. Pardon all the jiggling. I know it's going to make you seasick. All right, here. This is the front end of the car. This is our brake rotor. Now, what we're going to do now, the kingpins I showed you earlier go right back here. This is the top of the kingpin, and this is the bolt that I had trouble sticking in through the other bolt. And as I tell you, it's held in place by a nut back here. Your nut was completely missing. It's hard for this bolt to come out, but this was a safety issue, and you can see how dirty this is. It's been gone a long time. Now the reason we are replacing the kingpin, I showed you earlier that has the two brass bushings that it rides in, is this vertical part gets worn, and maybe you can hear the clicking. Okay, it's not supposed to click. That's loose. So we're going to take care of all that. Obviously, the shock absorbers go right here. They're out. Also, that's what I forgot down here. Another thing that's very important, the front of the car was sitting a little low, and what keeps the car, what keeps the actual body of the car level is the subframe mounts, and that's up inside underneath here. It's a giant piece of rubber, which I showed you earlier, and it keeps the body off of the subframe. So this is a completely separate unit from the body. This is where the brakes, the engine, and the steering all reside on this big piece of steel right here, and it's suspended underneath the body by this rubber cone right here. And when this rubber wears out and gets old and tired, the whole front of the body sags, and it looks like you're a low rider, like you're lower in the front and higher in the back. So that's going to get replaced. And along with, like I said, the upper outers and the lower outer repair kits down here. Anyway, that's going to get taken care of. Let's see. We've got the oil pan. Oil pan is off and has been cleaned and painted. In addition to having tons of sludge in it, it was beaten up underneath there as if it had been run over stones or debris in the street, and so it was actually caved in a wee bit. Now, one thing we're noticing, which is interesting, is all the discoloration on all the valve cover, everything that's aluminum or cast pot metal, or die-cast aluminum is discolored, really discolored. All the lines are discolored. The injection pump is discolored. The car has been, well, we think, sitting in a high moisture environment for quite a while. Another thing that's very curious is this vacuum line for the brake booster. All the abrasion on this vacuum line, we have no idea how that would happen. It's very unusual. But I just want to emphasize that the car needs to be stored. If it's going to be stored for a long period of time, which evidently this one was, it needs to be stored in a climate-controlled environment. Because we can eventually reverse all this. It just takes an awful lot of work, and it's not part of our activity right now. I'm trying to think what else we were going to do. Oh yes, I know what we're going to deal with. Is pointed out to me. This is not part of the mechanical. Doesn't need to be done now. Somebody locked the door. Anyway, the windows in their tracks are loose, and just like we did on the 280 SL, we can take the door panels off and we can cure the problem inside the door panels with the window guides and the track, if you so desire. It can be done later or not at all, but it's this sort of thing where the window is really loose back and forth like this. It's not supposed to be this loose. I mean, they're not sturdy to begin with because they have no frame around them to support them, but it's not supposed to be this loose. And that's true of both doors, and it's true of all these cars. It happens to everybody's car. It's normal. It just takes a matter of not if, but when. Let's see. I think that's enough for right now. I will update you as more happens. Oh, well, for instance, like the air filter. Well, you can see how dirty the air filter was. It's not supposed to be that dirty. So we're on the right track. We're just doing the maintenance that needs to be done, the deferred maintenance, and we'll take care of you. Thanks.